Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro says he's ready to stand for re-election. His comment came after the pro-government Constitutional Assembly ordered a presidential poll to be held months ahead of when such a vote has traditionally taken place. Maduro said he would relish the opportunity to measure up against his opponents. I'm at the service of the people. If the Socialist Party, if the strength of the great patriotic people, if my working brothers, if the working class, if women, if young people believe that I should be the presidential candidate of the fatherland, of the revolutionary sectors that love this country, I am ready to be a presidential candidate. Many see the move as Maduro's bid to capitalize on opposition disarray. Two-time presidential candidate Enrique Capriles is prohibited from holding office over allegations of administrative irregularities. And former mayor Leopoldo Lopez is under house arrest for leading protests against Maduro. Maduro's confidence flies in the face of months of unrest on the streets. The unpopular leader has been decried by his critics as a dictator who has all but wrecked the OPEC member country's economy. In Brazil, hundreds have turned out to show support for former President Lula da Silva. He's about to hear whether magistrates are going to uphold his corruption conviction. His supporters included impeached President Dilma Rousseff, who said Brazil would be ungovernable if the court decision went against him. It would mean he couldn't run in an October election. Addressing the crowd, Lula said, "People must understand that I'm not worried about myself, I'm worried about what's happening with the Brazilian people." Lula is Brazil's most popular leader and currently the election front-runner, but his case has polarised the country, with critics wanting him jailed. He was sentenced in July to 9.5 years behind bars on charges of corruption and money laundering for accepting a beachside penthouse apartment from an engineering company vying for government contracts.
Both Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Canada's Justin Trudeau kicked off the World Economic Forum in Davos with a defence of free trade. Modi urged joint action on economic cooperation in a speech some delegates took as a swipe at US President Donald Trump. Further growth in the global supply chain has also stopped. The solution to this worrisome situation against globalization is not isolation. Ahead of the eagerly awaited arrival of Trump at Davos, the US unveiled tariffs on imports of solar panels and washing machines, industries dominated by Chinese and South Korean businesses. In his speech, Trudeau celebrated the announcement of a new Asia-Pacific trade agreement to replace the one that Trump pulled out of last year.
We're working very hard to make sure that our neighbour to the south recognises how good NAFTA is and that it has benefited not just our economy, but his economy and the world's economy. But we're also very much open to more trade deals involving more people, as long as it's in the best benefit of all of our citizens.
After Trade Day in Davos, it's Europe Day on Wednesday, with speeches expected from the German Chancellor Angela Merkel and French President Emmanuel Macron.
U.S. Vice President Mike Pence stopping to pray at Jerusalem's Western Wall on the last leg of his 3-day trip to the Middle East. It comes amid tension over President Donald Trump's decision to recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, and just a day after Pence said the U.S. would open its embassy there by the end of next year. The Western Wall is in Jerusalem's Old City, which Israel captured in the 1967 war. Many Palestinians closed up shop for the day in protest against Pence's visit. They want East Jerusalem as the capital of a future state of their own.
We prefer to close and to lose today the business and the work, and to pass this political message to them that is, the Jerusalem is more important than business and than work and than money.
We have been living under occupation for 70 years. It's now time to uprise and to declare that this is our Palestinian liberate capital.
Pence told Reuters in an interview that the timing of the Middle East peace plan, which the White House has been working on for some time, now depends on Palestinians agreeing to return to the negotiating table.
An explosion has detonated outside the Save the Children aid agency offices in the Afghan city of Jalalabad. Attackers entered the compound from where the sound of gunfire rang out. At least 11 people have been injured in the attack, which is ongoing. Jalalabad is near the border with Pakistan. It's the capital of Nangarhar province, where the Taliban's been active since 2015. It's thought the explosion was the work of a suicide bomber who specifically targeted the agency, which promotes the rights of children in developing countries. It comes days after Taliban gunmen stormed a luxury hotel in Kabul, killing at least 22 people.
Dozens of people had to be rescued after an avalanche near a hotel in the South Tyrol region of northern Italy. The landslide hit near the hotel in the Venosta Valley overnight, as heavy snow continues to cause massive disruptions across the region. Switzerland is on high avalanche alert as fresh snow covered much of the Alps. Videos on social media show these landslides in the mountains above the Swiss alpine ski resort of Zermatt. While snow is causing havoc in the Alps, heavy rains are behind disruptions in France. The River Seine in Paris has overflowed its banks, with water levels rising to over 3 meters their normal level. Roads have been closed and cruises along the river suspended, as the level is expected to rise still higher.
The UN has failed to agree on a response to the use of chemical weapons in Syria's civil war. France and the US want to press on with sanctions after last year's expert inquiry, which found that the Syrian government had used sarin and chlorine gas against its own people.
Simply put, when Russia doesn't like the facts, they try and distract the conversation. That's because the facts come back over and over again to the truth Russia wants to hide, that the Assad regime continues to use chemical weapons against its own people.
Russia says the previous inquiry was biased and has proposed establishing a new international investigative body to carry out the work. Once again, I reiterate, why do you need an investigative mechanism? Even yesterday and today, prior to any investigation being conducted, you're alleging without any doubt that this is something which was done by the Syrian government. So you're both judge and accuser. At a meeting in Paris earlier this week, international leaders set out plans to prosecute the perpetrators of chemical attacks. Speaking at the conference, US Secretary of State Rex Tillerson said Russia bore ultimate responsibility. More than 130 chemical attacks were reported in Syria between 2012 and 2017.
Turkey claims to have killed at least 260 Syrian Kurdish fighters in its olive branch operation into neighbouring northwest Syria. The offensive into the Kurdish-dominated Afrin region has entered its 5th day and will continue, Ankara says, until all terrorists are fully eliminated. The US, which supports the Kurdish YPG forces in its fight against Islamic State, has called for restraint.
Hi, everybody. As much as we are concerned about destabilizing activities in northwestern Syria, I want to make this clear as well, that Turkey is an important NATO ally. And as an important NATO ally, we fully understand Turkey's concerns about different terrorist organizations. We understand their concerns about the PKK. So we're having conversations with the Turkish government about addressing those concerns, but also trying to bring stability and encourage them to de-escalate tensions.
Meanwhile, President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has attended the funeral of a Turkish soldier killed in the fighting. Erdogan is angry at US support for the YPG, which he claims is linked to Kurdish insurgents in Turkey. The offensive has triggered protests in both Syria and some European capitals, with concerns raised about civilians. Erdogan has told foreign leaders all measures are being taken to prevent civilian casualties, claiming only combatants are being targeted.
Televidente, outro espaço comercial, no momento com nós está back, é deporte com o colega Carl Reuter.